So many families have kids in sports now. And the scary part for parents is the chance of injury. It does happen a lot in all the sports, really. Well, Dr. Tim Micek is an orthopedic surgeon at Mercy One in Clinton, joining us now with talking about safety in student sports. You see a lot of those injuries, don't you, doctor? That's common?
Yeah, absolutely. It's seasonal, so as the fall comes and football's around, there's typically more injuries, during contact sports. But yeah, we see kids year round with injuries.
Well, and even going back past generations, my own husband talks about his football injury, and that was a long time ago. So kids have been getting hurt in football for a long time. Not just football, though. Although, would you say that is the most injurious sport?
I think so. People overlook soccer quite a bit. There's a lot of lower leg injuries in soccer, whether it's ankle, ACLs, ligament injuries in the knee, hand injuries. Girls' gymnastics is crazy, the amount of injuries that we get. And those are younger kids, too.
What are the gymnastic injuries that you see mainly, Tim?
Well, there's a lot of back injuries. I mean, these girls stretch a lot. My last practice was in Memphis, and they had a very high-end program there. And, they had level 8, level 9 gymnasts there. And knee injuries quite frequently as they land. A lot of wrist and hand injuries. Kids are still growing, typically in gymnastics. And, if you're a boy and you're 17, 18, you're probably done growing. If you're a female, probably 14 to 15, you're done growing. But prior to that, your growth plates are open. And growth plates are made of cartilage. So the growth plates can get injured quite frequently, especially in gymnastics. And I've seen it where it can actually deform the bones over time if they injure it over and over and over again. So,
oh my.
I grew up playing sports. I played college football, love sports. But at some point, if a kid gets injured over and over, you got to maybe think, there's some other options.
Huh. Okay, well that's probably another topic, right? Have you back to talk about the other options?
I didn't say that. I
understand what you mean, and it is a fear, and that parents and grandparents and all of us who love these student athletes have about injuries. So when we talk about safety in school sports, what would you recommend? I mean, what can we do? Let's talk about not so much the schools, but what can we do as families?
Right. Well, I think that. Let's pick a sport, maybe a boys' sport and a girls' sport. Say football, because we see a lot of injuries there. I think that coaching technique is very critical. I had a practice in Atlanta as well as in Memphis. I took care of schools that were 6A schools. Kids went to Division I schools, Alabama, LSU, Georgia. Big kids, fast kids. And coaching and technique is critical. I think the NFL has come down to a lot of safe tackling practices. I think the days of, a construction guy and like my dad owned a tool and die shop, so no disrespect at all. But a guy who comes out and just teaches kids football may not be the best thing for kids. It probably should be more organized. There should be certified coaches that show how to tackle. So that's the first thing, I think, technique. You look at gymnastics, technique is critical.
So check with your school to see who these folks are, who are teaching and coaching these kids. Absolutely, you've got to have confidence in your coaches, and I think the majority of them are great. They're passionate about sports. They're passionate about their kids, and really the coaches that I've worked with have been extremely successful on a national level. It's about the kids' safety first. Yeah. There's no question. If they're in a football game and a kid get hurt and they say, "Doc, can he play?" No. Okay. There's no question. We want to get him back in. Hey, we got to win this game. So good coaches really care about the kids. So I think that's really the first thing is technique. Second thing that's overlooked tremendously is stretching. Kids are flexible anyways, but lower back injuries. Why? You got to stretch your hamstrings. There's pitchers stretching the shoulders out. So, I think some of these things just take a little effort. If a kid has never been injured before, they don't really know how to protect themselves from an injury. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So it's good to kind of get the preventative stuff going with, great coaches,
good technique, a stretching program, your lifting and strength training is always helpful as well. But it takes time. There's quite a bit that goes into it to be safe and to be good.
Mm-hmm. And then from the other side of it, the doctor's point of view here, Doc, when you have to patch these kids up, new techniques. I mean, the latest and the greatest to get them back up there, or at least mobile, right?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, your husband was 15 or 16 at one point in time. Mm-hmm. He had his kids that are now the same age really have the same type of healing response that they did years ago. Now, granted, it's different where, back in the 70s and maybe 60s, and when I trained at University of Virginia, Dr. Frank McHugh was really the father of sports medicine. He came up with arthroscopic cameras. He tells stories when I was training, they were over 70. And Dr. McHugh would say at halftime, they would make an incision on a player's knee. They'd put a light bulb in the knee, and they take the cartilage out, and they sew them up and play the second half. Oh. I mean, and the reason he came up with the camera, he said, well, we're just tired of breaking light bulbs in the knee.
Oh, my goodness.
So the techniques have evolved tremendously.
We're thankful for that, Doctor, yes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to get back to your question, look, we have amazing braces now. Anti-inflammatories are helpful when the kid's healthy. Physical therapy is amazing now, with ultrasound and different techniques. Years ago, before changing administrations in our government, stem cells were amazingly helpful. I would say probably the top 2 or 3 doctors in the country that was injecting stem cells. And we can't do that now with this administration, but there's a lot of new techniques, and really it's about safety. If a kid's injury is slight, I've had kids in casts and they can play.
Wow.
They can play. Well, we check them back each week. Other injuries you can't play through. So it really is injury specific.
Well, thank you for your insight today, Doctor. It was really great to hear from you, and I can tell you're passionate about what you do, and thanks for bringing us all the latest and greatest there as an orthopedic surgeon in Clinton with Mercy One. So thank you, Doctor, for joining us today.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye now.